kick off the session by diving into what earned value means. Let us pause for a moment and ask yourself this question. Have you ever thought about you are getting in return for the money you are putting into something? I mean, think about it. Whenever you make a big purchase, consciously or not, you are likely thinking about the value you will get it from. If you see the value, you are more likely to go ahead and make the purchase, right? But what if you are spending more money than what that thing is actually worth? Would you still go and spend your money on it? No. Imagine this scenario applies to projects too. Picture yourself as someone running a project. You are investing money on it, and naturally you want to know what you are getting back for that money. The catch is, the world of projects, you cannot just rely on your gut feeling to guess what you are getting on it. You need some way to measure and put numbers to it. So earned value is basically a way to put a number on how much value you are accomplished. It's like a way to quantify your progress. But here, the real thing is, how do you put numbers on progress? Let me break it down with examples. Imagine you are building a fence around a new property. The whole job is estimated at the cost around AED 4,000, and the contractors handling everything. You are paying them based on the man hours they work, and the project's supposed to take for 5 weeks. To stay on the top of things, you have got a plan for how the money should be spent on each week. Now it is on third week, and you find out the contractor has spent less than they planned so far. What is your reaction? Could this mean you will end up with spending less overall? Now, it is not that simple to understand this idea and this concept. You cannot know for sure unless you figure out how much work they have actually done, how many fences are up, the remaining fences, and when you ask, you find out they have completed 2 out of 4 fences. Now, with this info, you can access the project's progress. It is around 50% complete. I mean, halfway, correct? And if you had to put a dollar value or in progress, I mean AED in progress, it is around 2,000 AED you have earned, considering the original budget of AED 4,000. So far, the contractor spent 2,500 AED, but only earned 2,000 worth of total progress as on date of third week. That means, despite spending less than planned, you are not really getting the bang for your buck. At the week third, the actual spending was around 2,500 AED, but you have earned only 2,000 in reality. So this indicates things keep going like this. It is pretty clear that a contractor is not sticking to the budget, correct? He is going to make overspend or whatever may be. They are not performing as suspected. In nutshell, earned value is about putting a number on the values you are getting out of your investment. It helps you understand if you are spending wisely and making progress as planned. Let us break down what is happening with the project here. It is pretty clear that the contractors is not sticking to the plan. This means two things. The project will finish later than the intended 5 weeks, and it is going to cost you more money than what you was supposed to spend. So only it is going, I mean, you're going to pay more than what you're supposed to pay. But you will not also be moving out later as you expected. So, I mean, you are not going to occupy the house as you are planned to start from the 5th or 6th week, end of 5th week or 6th. This is where earned value comes into play. Adding concept gives you a powerful tool, one that sheds light on your project, how it is going. Imagine having something that tells you where you are in the project at the given point of time. It helps you answer really important questions about the project. How, like, are we behind the schedule? How efficiently we are using our time? When the project is likely to be done? And are we spending more or less than our budget? How are we going to do, allocate our resources? What is the remaining work going to cost? What's the total project likely to cost? Will be over or under budget when it come to when it is coming to be done? No, this is what the questions we are going to ask, and it has been by both the government agencies and the private companies. There are industry standards for it, like ANSI, EIA 748 standards, and the Project Management Institute even has a practice standard for it. You can even get certified end value professional management through Association of Advanced and Cost Engineering, USA. All this proves that end value management is really effective way to manage projects. There is a whole science behind it. Well, it's a process that lines up with the stages of a project life cycle. Think of it like this. A project has a start and finish, and it goes through different phases of the development. These phases might look different depending on the industry, but they all follow the same basic steps. There are 5 main phases in the project management and the cost control philosophy: planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and of course closeouts. When it comes to earned value management, the real action happens in the monitoring and controlling phase. This is where you start to pull all those earned value ideas into practice. Now, how to employ EVM on your project? Build a solid plan prior to executing the earned value management. Now, step 1, define the full scope of the project to the extent as it is possible. Step 2, determine the points of management control accounts, introducing the control accounts, and assign control account managers, of course, and authorize, allocate budgets to each control account. Step 4, develop a robust, integrated, and resource-loaded schedule. Step 5, baseline the scope, cost, schedule, and ultimately establish a performance measurement baseline. It is called as a PMB. And step 6, determine the progress measurement methods, the progress measurement procedures and all, what we are following when we are submitting and kick off the initiation process, how we are going to submit, how we are going to measure the progress. And step 7, collect the physical progress, calculate end value. and step which is the end value EV. Now step 8, collect and record actual cost consistent with the authorized baseline and its budgets. And step 9, measure, analyze and project performance. Continually monitor the end value performance to determine cost and schedule variance to the baseline and its original plans. Cost variance CV, schedule variance SV, CPI, cost performance index, SPI, schedule performance index. Now, step 10, using the end value data, continuously forecast the final required cost based on actual performance, where EAC and estimated completion, ETC estimate to complete, VAC variation at completion, TCPI total cost performance index. These are all the important parameters comes into the picture. Now step 11, define variance thresholds. Analyze variance exceeding the thresholds and keep management apprised so corrective or preventive actions can be made as it is required. Now, step 12, manage the defined scope baseline by incorporating the approved changes into the project baseline in timely manner. The end value ideas into practice. Employ this. All right. Let us dive into this way, and that's easy to grasp. Building a strong plan is a step 1 in making end value management work. Think of planning as a foundation of a successful end value setup. Now, it all starts with getting clear picture of the project, what needs to be done. A handy tool called work breakdown structure, WBS, is often used to break things down. Once the scope is very clear, you identify key control points or control accounts. These are all spots in the project where you measure how things going, compare actual cost, look at different and take actions as needed. You also measure these control points. It all starts with a clear picture of the project scope. Now, EVA methodology with the step 1, what it is clearly defining, define the full scope of the project to the extent possible. Now, this process comes under planning, under the scope definition. WBS is often breaking furthermore, and therefore we can capture different levels. For example, sometime depends on the project nature, it goes in up to 5 to 6 levels and all. There are spots in the project where measure how things going on, and we can make a comparison as well. This is how the WBS concept is works. Now, step 2, determine the points of management control accounts, and assign control accounts manager in right place. You also assign managers to these control points. They are once keeping on A, one thing's one very important thing. The next move, give the go ahead and allocate budgets to each control account. It is like saying, okay, here is some money for each part of the project, take away and take for the project expenditure now. Then comes comes under planning scope definition. Then comes planning and scheduling the work. There is where you build a strong timeline, a schedule that fits with the scope of work and the cost of the plan. Cost of the total baseline plans. All these parts, scope, cost, and schedule, have to work together seamlessly for end value management sign. One trick is to link the schedule with the cost by putting the resources you need into the project and into the schedule. These resources could be a people, equipment, or materials, or whatever may be. This makes sure everything lines up in the right way. Now, step 4, develop a robust, integrated, and resource-loaded schedule. This process comes under planning, scope definition, control account establishments, cost budgeting. Now, what we are exactly doing is we are just integrating the complete and the resources completely loaded, as I mentioned that what are the resource costs, the different resource parameters we are using, equipment, materials, and all. So those things comes into the picture. Schedule integration is very important in this aspect. How the resources are loading into the schedule, and we have to integrate in right way. And now coming into the step 5, baseline the scope, cost, and the schedule, and ultimately establish a performance measurement baseline, PMB. Now, with all these pieces of information, you have got something called a performance measurement baseline, PMB. This is your budget plan stretched over time, a bit like spending a roadmap. It is against this roadmap that you will measure how things are really going to happen. And now planning these phases perhaps and action begins. But before we jump into that, remember that end value is a combo of how much work is done and how much budget you are using. It's like a progress times money, When you move into action phase, it is a great time to gather data. First, you pick the right ways to measure progress for the different tasks. The reason because, end value is all about real progress. You got to measure, try to calculate the end value. There are different methods depending on the work. It is long task with the clear results. You can use things like weighted milestones, percent complete, or a physical measurements. You apply these methods to each control point to take a measure and the end values. In step 6, determine the progress measurement methods using weighted milestones, percent complete, physical measurement and all. And now, in step 7, collect the physical progress and calculate end value, which is EV. Now, end value that is equal to physical percentage versus budget. Now, this comes under the execution process where the progress measurement is taken place. Now, step 8, collect and record actual cost consistent with the authorized baseline budgets. Now, there are different data collections we have to perform. It is as per the accounting system, we have to get the timesheets from the system, financial system, and the procurement system, subcontractor system and all. Then once it is all collected, then you have to put into the actual scenario where the EVM processed you are taking away. So this comes under the execution, progress measurement, and actual cost year-to-date updates. Now, in step 9, continually monitoring the end value performance to determine cost and schedule variances to the baseline plan. As we discussed, cost variance, schedule variance, and the cost performance index and the schedule performance index are to be monitored and maintained in such a way that step 10 Using the earned value data, continuously forecast the final required cost based on actual performance. Here, estimated completion EAC, estimate to complete ETC, variation at completion VAC, and TCPA, total cost performance index, comes into picture. Controlling performance measurement under performance costs and scheduling forecast part. Now, total cost variance, that is equal to earned value minus actual cost, where schedule variance, that is equal to EV minus PV. What is the CPI? CPS, that is equal to earned value divided by actual cost, and SPI, which is equal to earned value divided by actual cost. Sorry, there's a mistake here. Planned value divided by actual cost. Sorry for that. Now, TCPI, that is equal to BAC minus EV divided by EAC minus AC. And BAC, that is equal to project total PV, that is equal to approved authorized budget, authorization for expenditure. And VAC, that is equal to BAC minus EAC, and EAC, that is equal to AC plus ETC. So when and where there are some missed parameters can be calculated based on the equating the other logics, no? Some values are not known, so we have to go as if we are working in the mathematical formulas. Now, EAC, that is equal to AC plus BAC minus EV, the projected performance factor. Step 11, define variance thresholds, analyze variance exceeding the thresholds, and keep management apprised. So corrective and or preventive actions need to be done. This process comes under monitoring, controlling, performance measurement, cost schedule forecast, under. Now, step 13, consolidate and improve upon EVM metrics by formally closing the project. Analyze the final outcomes and the project records. So this baseline revisions and change control process comes under monitoring control, under which performance measurement, underneath the cost and schedule process, forecasting, and variance analysis. This is a complete process. Let us put this in terms so that everyone can get.